Bonjour.
Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to try to oppose the Object 140 to the T62A directly into a training room session. It's going to be 7 Object 140 against 7 T62A, but before starting I just want to remind you one or two things about the tanks so you understand what is going on. The main difference between the T62A and the Object 140 is probably that the T62A has less mobility than the Object but has a way better armor, especially on the turret, whereas the Object 140 will have a better mobility but will get penetrated quite easily in the turret, making it not the best tank to hull down with. Of course, the main difference also, and that is gonna have a huge impact especially on hilly terrains, is probably that the T62A has a way better gun depression of 7 degrees, whereas the Object 140 is stuck with 6 degrees. It doesn't seem a lot, the difference between both of them, but trust me, on the battlefield you will see the difference. But let's not lose too much time and jump directly into the video. So here we start with the first match. We are playing our T62A, we are with all our T62A, and we all go straight to the desert. Why do we go in the desert? There are actually two reasons to go there. The first one is we are medium tanks, and medium tanks are doing well in the open, and here the map is clearly open. You have a lot of space to circle, to use your mobility, and to show only your turret, which lead me to the second point. The T62A armor profile on the turret is amazing, which means if you manage to put yourself into a null down position, it's gonna be quite hard for your opponents to actually penetrate you. And on this map, the best way for you to be hull down is probably going to the desert, and that's why we have the whole team there. But surprisingly enough, as the Object 140s have the best mobility, they managed to get into position before us. And doing this, they are preventing us to actually use effectively our tanks by being in hull down. And as long as those Object 140s have this advantage of getting into the ground before the T62A can make it, it will give them the advantage of being able to penetrate us while we are gonna struggle. It's the same story as Star Wars, the one having the high ground is the one winning the battle. But hey, the battle is still under control. All we gotta do is play a little bit more aggressively to show them that we are here in order for them to retreat. If they retreat, it's over for them, because as soon as the T62A finds himself into a nail down position, you can say goodbye to your HPs and also to your hopes of penetrating this tank. And now that we're playing aggressively, it's just a question of time before the 140s are gonna die. We have 3 T62As that are just holding the line, while on the other side 4 of us are pushing straight in, allowing them to kill 2 of their Object 140. Now it's already over, because at this point in the game, when you lose 2 tanks, whereas the other team still has every single tank, it's quite hard to win actually. So here we just have to destroy the remaining pieces of what was back in the day the best tank out of those 2, which is the Object 140. It's easy, and it really shows you how strong the buff on the T62A was compared to the Object 140. By the way, Wargaming, maybe you should do something about the 140, it's just my opinion. Now let's focus on the second part of the video, and here we have the pleasure of playing the Object 140. The main strength of the Object 140 being its mobility. It's really important for us to play it in desert where you're supposed to go when you're medium, but we need to take advanced position, because that's the only thing the Object 140 has over the T62A, a really good mobility. And that's why we need to take those aggressive positions before the T62A to prevent them from being able to actually hull down. So here we go. As you can see, my team was faster than me because they had better spawns, and here we start the massacre. We are trying to sneak some shots. Unfortunately for us, even if we have one of the best accuracies for a medium tank at tier 10, it was not enough to go through that T62A. Now, the main difference in terms of playstyle between the Object 140 and the T62A is that when you're playing with your Object 140, you actually need to know what you're doing. You need to play it smartly. It's not like the T62A, because the T62A, as soon as you're in an all down position, you don't really need to move. If you wiggle just a little bit your tank when you're reloading, people are probably gonna bounce. With the Object 140, it's different. Every single mistake is gonna cost you some HPs. But for the moment, talking about mistakes, there is one Object 140 that got wrecked. But is it gonna stop us or not? We are gonna see. We try to circle, we are trying to get advanced position, or at least to play it a little bit sneaky. We try to help our teammates on the left, and we also need to stay in the back. We don't want to rush too soon into those T62A because we are only 2 Object 140s against 3 T62As. So if they decide to push, it's literally over for us. Luckily, they are not trying anything like that. And it also appears that we have some support from the other Object 140. Unfortunately, on the other side, the situation is definitely not the greatest because they are getting completely annihilated by those T62A. I told you, the T62A is way better than the Object 140 in literally every way. So yeah, I guess by that time of the video you understand how powerless you are when you're an Object 140 against the T62A, because literally here there is nothing we can do to overcome the future defeat. It's all about holding and doing as much damage as we can before dying, and you're gonna see that we're not gonna do that much, as 5 against 2, especially when you're one shot, hard to do whatever, hard to just sustain on the battlefield, literally impossible. And as we die, we see the shadow of what used to be one of the greatest tanks in the game getting completely annihilated by those new overpowered buffed tanks that are those T62A. See Object 140, you can't handle this. Now, concerning the last game, we are gonna see it as a spectator, because from this point of view, it's easier to understand why the T62A is stronger. And the cool thing about this map is that it's really advantageous for those T62A simply because it's all about being all down. There is no mobility involved. And here you're gonna see how much of a difference there is between the Object 140 and the T62A, because the T62A are gonna bounce literally every shot, while those Object 140 are gonna get completely destroyed without even being able to respond back, because that's what the T62A is nowadays. The T62A became the king of the Russian mediums, at least the tech tree, because of course if we talk about the T22 medium, that's not the same, and I'll probably do a T22 medium against T62A or something like that. But out of the tech tree, if you had to choose with the T62A and the Object 140, I think this video is a good publicity for you to get your T62A ready in your garage. Because when you think about it, why should you play the Object 140 when you have a tech tree tank that is its brother, the T62A, that does the exact same job but in a better way? Exactly. You don't need a 140, you need a T62A in your garage. And that's why you don't see that much Object 140 those days, simply because the T62A completely overcome that tank since its buff. Is it fair? Is it unfair? That's not me that decides this, that's Wargaming, but I just hope they are gonna do something about the 140, because today the Object 140 is only played by extremely skilled player, and when you're extremely skilled, regardless of how much armor you have on the turret, you will still do good games, which is kind of rigging the statistics Wargaming has from this tank. And I just hope they are gonna do something, because as you can see on 3 games, the object got completely destroyed without even an hope of winning. Tell me what you think about the T62A and the Object 140 in the comments. Feel free also to comment what next tanks you want to see in a 7 versus 7 battle in training rooms, and I'm gonna see you soon for a new video.